At the inauguration party on her first day, she declared, "You're fired." Just 3 hours later, in the heart of the Westin Crown Center Grand Ballroom, we find Rowan Prescott, Senshawu, commanding the space as 250 guests lift their glasses in a toast to the new CEO. My sister Brooke had just delivered her victory speech. Beaming as if she had already triumphed in the battle, she leaned into the microphone, her voice resonating powerfully, ensuring that every phone camera captured the moment. "Your responsibilities are hereby terminated. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out." 250 gazes converged on me simultaneously. Champagne paused just before reaching the lips. A gasp echoed through the room. I stood my ground, unwavering. With a deliberate motion, I grasped the guest badge affixed to my sleek black dress, carefully unclipping it and placing it with precision on the edge of my pristine champagne flute. Untouched and waiting, then I turned my gaze directly to Brooke and, with unwavering composure, instructed her to inform Mom and Dad that the board convenes in 3 hours. I pivoted sharply, my heels echoing against the marble floor, each click resonating like the rapid-fire flashes of cameras capturing a moment of intrigue. The double doors shut gently, echoing a soft thud in the stillness. Imagine standing there, the spotlight on you, as your own sister orchestrates a moment that leaves you feeling exposed and vulnerable at her celebration party. That knot in your stomach is all too familiar. Show some love if you have a family tale that ignites your passion. And share in the comments the most outrageous thing a sibling has ever done to you during a significant occasion. Believe me, what unfolds in the next 3 hours will eclipse every one of those tales. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, so you won't miss the moment this night takes an unexpected turn. As those doors closed behind me, the true countdown commenced. I settled into the driver's seat of my sleek black Tahoe, the engine purring to life as the ballroom doors continued to sway behind me. 28 miles to Lee's summit. 32 minutes on a clear night, there's ample opportunity ahead. The radio remained silent. The scene was set with the rhythmic hum of tires gliding over asphalt, punctuated by the soft click of the turn signal as I seamlessly merged onto I-470. As I steered into the garage, the house loomed in shadows, save for the solitary glow of the motion light casting its beam over the workbench. I chose not to step inside. I opened the laptop that had been charging since 6 that morning, logged in with my face, and accessed the folder marked Continuity. Everything was meticulously prepared, the encrypted email blast ready to reach every board member and registered shareholder, the certified mail packets neatly addressed and stamped, and the digital signature precisely time-stamped at 6:0003 a.m. All that remained was to press send, just one click to send the email. With a single click, the courier pickup is set to arrive in just 14 minutes. Completed. Many believe that achieving majority ownership is an instantaneous feat. It simply does not. It begins with a solitary half-page agreement at the age of 19, fueled by a fierce determination to forego a salary. Unlike the rest, in 2009, Prescott Nexus was a tight-knit team of 20. Operating from a warehouse in North Kansas City, my father presented me with the opportunity to take on a directorial role, along with an impressive annual salary of $180,000. I declined the offer. I expressed my preference for equity instead. He chuckled, gestured with a dismissive wave, and said, "All right, kid. Take ownership of the ground beneath the building. Not a single share has been sold by me." In 2011, during the construction of the Midwest cold chain expansion, I opted for an additional 4% rather than accepting a bonus, In 2014, after Brooke nearly led us into a catastrophic partnership that would have set us back $50 million, I strategically persuaded the board to incorporate Section 14 Sound C. They labeled it paranoia. I referred to it as insurance. In 2016, the California refrigerated tech startup we acquired awarded me an additional 12% for orchestrating the deal. In 2020, when my parents sought liquidity for their lake house remodel, I acquired their golden shares at fair market value, without any family discount. They believed they were lending me a hand. They were not. One step at a time. Transaction after transaction. I meticulously built my position until the records reflected a remarkable 71% attributed solely to me. It was never featured on the website. It was never etched onto the door of the office. It lingered in the Connecticut filings. Steadfast and unyielding, I shut the laptop, reclined against the headrest, and exhaled a breath I had been holding since Brooke began to speak at that podium. Meanwhile, my little brother Dylan was broadcasting live on Instagram, his phone expertly positioned to capture the shimmering crystal chandeliers in the background. I can envision it clearly, him, grinning beside Brooke, with the caption already set, "New era loading. Family business. Next generation." The accolades were flooding in. Unbeknownst to him, the era he was honoring was on the brink of its final act, with merely 3 hours remaining before the curtain fell. In the VIP section, the first phone buzzed. Edward Morrison, the silver-haired attorney who had drafted every major contract for Prescott Nexus since it was just 3 guys and a warehouse in 1997, felt the buzz against his chest as he lifted a bite of grilled salmon with a single look at the screen. His complexion drained, leaving him as pale as freshly printed paper. He shot up with such urgency that his chair screeched across the marble, a sound sharp enough to slice through the melody of the string quartet. With unwavering determination, he grasped his father's elbow in one hand and his mother's wrist in the other, guiding them decisively through the nearest service door. The narrow backstage hallway was infused with the aromas of hot catering trays and fresh flowers, creating an atmosphere ripe with anticipation. Edward swiped a keycard that was clearly not his to have, locked the door behind them with a decisive click, and handed his dad the phone as if it were a ticking time bomb. Father grasped it firmly, his thumbs pressing against the edges. Turning pale with the effort, he scanned the cover page, blinked intensely, and then read it once more, his eyes locked onto the crucial paragraph, Section 14C. The emergency continuity clause. Meticulously drafted and executed in 2014. This was the moment when Brooke had almost sealed a West Coast distribution deal that threatened to bleed $42 million and drag them through 3 years of legal battles. The board labeled me as paranoid. Dad, with one eye on the screen and the other on the paperwork, signed the amendment amidst the excitement of a Chiefs game playing in the background. He had never taken the time to delve beyond the title. He absorbed each word, his lips silently tracing the lines of text. As he delivered the line about unilateral executive termination by a non-equity appointee, the atmosphere shifted. It was clear that such an action would instantly suspend all authority, returning control to the majority shareholder. With a deliberate exhale, the breath escaped him. A gradual surrender. His shoulders slumped forward as if an unseen force had severed the delicate threads holding him upright. Mom leaned over his arm, her eyes landing on my electronic signature at the bottom. Tears began to flow before she could finish the second sentence, not dramatic sobs, but rather silent, unstoppable streams that etched mascara rivers down both cheeks. She pressed a pristine white linen napkin to her mouth, stifling the delicate, fragmented sounds that slipped through. Edward's voice hovered just above a whisper, creating an intimate atmosphere. Rick, we are currently broadcasting live at 6:03 a.m. this morning. Each board member and registered shareholder has just been presented with the same package. We find ourselves within the 3-hour window. There is no option to pause. Dad gazed upward, his eyes shimmering with a distant, unfocused light. She remains unaware at this moment. Not at this moment. Edward has been confirmed. She's still slicing through that cake. In the grand ballroom, Brooke erupted in laughter at a whispered joke from the MC, gracefully gliding the silver knife through layers of champagne-soaked vanilla. As cameras captured the moment in a flurry of flashes, she raised a flawless slice, gesturing to the audience with a radiant smile, embodying the essence of royalty in a moment that felt like a farewell. Mom's voice trembled, breaking under the weight of her tears. Rick, bring her in here. We put an end to this before it escalates any further. Dad's hand was poised over the handle, knuckles pale with tension, as Mother gently wiped away the final tear with her crumpled napkin. The door burst open with a dramatic flourish. Brooke made her entrance into the intimate backstage room. Setting the scene with her presence, Dylan trailed closely behind her. Both still basking in the radiant glow of the spotlight and the thunderous applause that had accompanied their exit from the main floor. The door crashed shut behind Dad, sending a tremor through the framed supplier awards on the wall, each one quivering in response to the impact. Standard fare? The smile that adorned my sister's face throughout the evening remained unwavering. Not even a hint of change at first. Can you clarify the purpose of this? She asked, smoothing an invisible wrinkle from her white blazer, as if a red carpet interview awaited her. Did Rowan unleash one of her theatrical outbursts and rush to you in tears? Dylan snorted, his thumbs dancing rapidly across the phone screen. Standard fare. She consistently sought the spotlight whenever circumstances turned against her. Father remained silent. With a deliberate motion, he pivoted the iPad on the small conference table, allowing it to glide smoothly across the polished surface until the screen was perfectly positioned to face them. The most recent official filing from Connecticut presented a meticulously detailed breakdown of display ownership, freshly stamped that very morning, certified by a notary, and undeniably beyond dispute. 71% stood out prominently beneath the solitary line that declared Rowan Savannah Prescott. Brooke's gaze fixated on the number, her perfectly lined red lips parted. Yet silence lingered in the air. Her confidence evaporated in slow motion, revealing only a mask of shock. Dylan leaned in closer, anticipation flickering in his eyes, as he braced for a punchline or an unexpected twist. As the familiar figure met his gaze, the smirk evaporated, as if a switch had been flipped in an instant. His mouth opened, then closed, only to open once more. Silence. Only a gentle exhale. Brooke finally succeeded in delivering her words with a whisper that was both thin and razor-sharp. This simply cannot be real. A mere sleight of hand. She cannot possibly claim that it is genuine, Edward interjected, his voice steady and devoid of emotion, maintaining the same demeanor he employed during depositions. The state was officially stamped at 847 this morning. You activated the precise clause she crafted the moment you attempted to finalize that $50 million catastrophe on the West Coast. Brooke's perfectly manicured fingers swiftly seized her phone from the crystal-embellished clutch, her thumb already poised to dial my contact. Directly to voicemail. She pushed herself further this time. Another frigid, mechanical welcome. She had been stifled since dawn, and the realization struck her with the force of a sudden blow. This is absolutely mind-blowing. She spun around to face Dad, her blazer flaring dramatically as she hissed, You allowed her to take this path. You allowed her to conceal it from everyone. Father's expression hardened, his jaw set and eyes piercing. I approved each document presented to me every quarter. Just as you proceed without delving beyond the opening lines, Dylan ultimately discovered the voice of the word, cracking with the awkwardness of adolescence. This can still be salvaged. Request the emergency lawyer's file for the injunction. Whatever it may be. Edward shook his head. A deliberate motion that spoke volumes. Slow and definitive. Time is of the essence. You have under 3 hours until the mandatory meeting begins. Following that, the decision carries weight under the authority of the majority. No court in Connecticut operates at a pace exceeding 71%. Brooke's breath quickened. Each inhale sharp and rapid. She shifted her gaze from the iPad to her mother's tear-streaked cheeks, then to her father's tightly clenched fists, desperately scanning each face for an ally. A lifeline. Anything at all. The space constricted with each hurried look she cast. As if the walls were closing in on her, she made one final attempt. Her voice trembling with emotion. She would never sacrifice her own family for the sake of trivial vengeance. Father locked his gaze with hers. Unwavering, you obliterated any possibility of compassion the moment you chose to humiliate her before an audience of 250 former colleagues. The silence consumed every last breath of air in the room. Brooke stood motionless, her gaze locked on the luminous screen as the truth enveloped her, chilling her to the core. Dylan repeatedly refreshed his phone, his thumb trembling with anticipation, yearning for a miracle that was destined to remain out of reach. As Brooke remained fixated on the iPad, a synchronized vibration rippled through the phones of every board member. As the scene unfolds, we witness the moment when Harold Weinstein, the board chairman, experiences the unexpected jolt of his phone vibrating. Just as his fork hovers tantalizingly close to his mouth, the screen illuminated with the encrypted attachment. The subject line glaring in bold red: Emergency Shareholder Meeting, Section 14C, activated. Harold's jaw clenched with intensity. He placed the fork down with intention, slid his chair back, and strode purposefully toward the head of security station by the east exit. One sentence. Sharp and concise. Secure the space. Everyone stays put. In just 15 seconds, the devices of all other board members responded in unison. Margaret Klein's eyes fluttered open, a moment of realization dawning behind her reading glasses. Paul Delgado muttered a curse under his breath. Phones began to ascend throughout the ballroom, resembling dark mirrors reflecting the brilliance of the chandelier's glow. The jazz quartet faltered on a note and came to an abrupt halt. The security team acted swiftly. At the 4 main exits and both service doors, 6 more guards clad in black suits emerged, enhancing the security presence significantly, with arms crossed and feet firmly planted. The polite smiles conveyed a challenge. Inviting? Go ahead. Give it a shot. A venture capitalist, lingering near the coat check, made a lackluster attempt to drift toward the lobby. A guard shifted his stance, silently obstructing the way ahead. Another guest, phone already pressed to his ear, ventured down the west corridor, only to encounter the same imposing wall of muscle. The communication was direct and immediate. The celebration has come to a close. On stage, the MC, a local news anchor brought in for the evening, felt the change in atmosphere. He seized the microphone from a bewildered server, who was on the verge of announcing dessert. Attention. Everyone, please stay seated and ensure your seats are secured. Thank you. Prepare yourselves for an unexpected announcement from our majority shareholder. Coming up shortly. Your patience is greatly appreciated. The house lights faded down another level. The string lights above the cake table shone brilliantly, casting an almost absurd glow on the four-tier champagne masterpiece. Brooke rushed back from the secluded corridor, her cheeks a vibrant crimson, her hair slightly tousled for the first time all evening. She seized the microphone stand with both hands, her knuckles turning bone white as she steadied herself. "Everything is perfectly fine," she proclaimed, her words tumbling out in a rush. "This is a small yet important administrative update. Let's all maintain our composure and savor the remainder of the evening together." Her right hand shook with such intensity that the microphone emitted a piercing feedback. A wave of anxious laughter emerged from table 12, only to fade swiftly into silence. The audience had lost interest. Dylan emerged at the periphery of the stage, exuding an air of nonchalance as he glided along the sumptuous velvet wall, making his way toward the service exit. With the phone pressed tightly to his ear, his lips moved rapidly, and his eyes darted around the room. He advanced 3 steps when a guard suddenly appeared before him, shook his head with finality, and gestured back toward the ballroom floor. Dylan stood motionless, caught between the imposing guard and the weight of 200 scrutinizing gazes. The temperature in the room plummeted, a chilling shift that felt like a dramatic turn in the narrative, dropping 10 degrees in less than a minute. The champagne lay still, its effervescence fading in pristine flutes. Untouched and waiting, waitstaff paused in a tableau, poised with silver trays adorned with delicate petite fours, devices illuminated repeatedly with the identical document. The unchanging ownership table, the same name prominently displayed at the forefront. A woman at table 6 let out a gasp that echoed through half the room. He adjusted his screen, inviting her to take in the words displayed before them. The gasp rippled outward, creating a wave of astonishment. A whisper of 71% slipped through the air, racing ahead of the document, leaving a trail of intrigue in its wake. Brooke attempted once more, her smile appearing as if it had been meticulously crafted by an unsteady hand. "Rest assured, there is truly nothing to be concerned about. We'll return to our celebration shortly. Kindly remain in your seats." Her voice trembled on the final word. The microphone emitted another piercing squeal. The silence was palpable. Silence enveloped the scene. The jazz quartet remained still, their instruments poised gracefully on their laps. The MC stepped back onto the stage, a commanding presence as they gracefully took the microphone from Brooke's trembling grasp. "Once more, I ask that you stay in your seats. The majority shareholder is present and will be addressing everyone in the room shortly." Brooke's grip faltered entirely. The microphone stand teetered precariously, a moment of tension hanging in the air. Dylan was pressed against the wall, his face pale beneath the glow of the golden chandelier, the phone dangling uselessly at his side. As the stage lights faded into darkness for the upcoming scene, the main doors creaked open dramatically. I strode confidently down the center aisle, clad in a sleek black sheath dress, my laptop secured under one arm, heels whispering against the plush carpet runner, without an entourage, without the dramatic entrance music, and without security by my side. The gentle click of the double doors sealing off the world behind me, followed by a profound silence that enveloped every clink of glass and whisper of conversation. 250 faces followed my every move, as if I were the sole entity in motion within the space. I entered the low stage, set the laptop down on the podium that Brooke had left behind just moments ago, and powered it up. The 60-foot screen behind me ignited with the secure voting portal, a creation of my own design, meticulously coded and tested through 3 relentless nights back in 2018. The interface exuded a stark clarity, a raw intensity, and an impenetrable security. "Good evening," I announced into the microphone, allowing my voice to resonate effortlessly throughout the space. "Allow me to introduce myself. I am Rowan Savannah Prescott. In accordance with Section 14C of the Shareholder Agreement, I am convening an emergency shareholder meeting immediately. Each registered voter present here should already have the link accessible on their devices." A surge of phones ascended, reminiscent of a shadowy wave. The fingers began to tap rhythmically. Harold Weinstein, the chairman for the past 12 years, stood up from the front row with unwavering confidence. He ascended the side steps, positioned himself next to me, and meticulously adjusted his glasses. He had spotted the packet an hour earlier. He was already familiar with the script. "Action on the stage," Harold declared with a voice that was unwavering and authoritative. "We will promptly rescind the appointments of Brooke Prescott as Chief Executive Officer and Dylan Prescott as Vice President of Sales. The primary stakeholder has put forth a proposal. Do I have a second Margaret Klein standing first?" Her pearl necklace capturing the spotlight. Next. Paul Delgado followed closely in her wake. Next scene. 3 additional board members stood up in rapid succession. The chain stood resolute, an embodiment of strength and resilience. The voting app has officially launched. Green signifies affirmation. Red signifies a definitive no. The percentages climbed steadily, illuminated on the grand screen. A striking contrast to the subdued glow of the house lights. Brooke burst onto the stage, her heels screeching against the floor. "This is absolutely extraordinary. You cannot hold a meeting in the middle of." Harold raised one hand, steady yet unwavering. "At this moment, the chair acknowledges only those who are registered voters." She halted in her tracks, her mouth agape. Struck by the realization that no one was paying attention, Dylan attempted from the side aisle, his voice trembling with emotion. "Kinley, let's move it. We are a family. Are you really choosing to do this right now?" I chose not to acknowledge him at all. I focused on the figures instead. 58% green, 61, 64, small shareholders, warehouse managers who had accumulated fractional equity over decades, and mid-level engineers who opted for stock instead of raises. All responded with unwavering confidence. Their memories were sharp, recalling those who stood firm in the battle for their bonuses when Brooke sought to trim expenses. The team recalled the individual who took it upon themselves to meticulously revise the disaster recovery code following the flood threat of 2021. 67%. Long-term institutional investors. Having observed my choice to prioritize substantial ownership over more ostentatious titles, remained unfazed. Their votes secured in an instant. 69%. Brooke raised her voice once more, filled with urgency. "Harold, it's time to bring this to a close. She's putting on a show." Harold stood resolute, unwavering in the face of it all. 70% accomplished. The motion threshold has been successfully achieved. 71% locked into position. A vivid, green hue enveloping the entire screen. Solid and unyielding. Harold pivoted to face the room. "The motion is approved under the authority of the majority shareholder. The appointments have been rescinded. All executive privileges are hereby revoked. The meeting is now concluded." The final tally illuminated the room for a full 5 seconds, etching itself into the memory of every eye in the ballroom. A shared breath escaped, spreading through the space. A fork has been dropped. The sharp noise echoed, reminiscent of gunfire. Brooke fixed her gaze on the numbers, as if her sheer determination could bend them to her will. Her lips parted, yet silence enveloped the moment. Dylan's phone fell from his grasp. striking the marble floor with a resonant crack that reverberated beneath the chandeliers. I gently closed the laptop. The sound a subtle snap in the quiet room. As the final hand fell, and the outcome illuminated the screen, Harold's voice sliced through the shocked stillness with precision and clarity. The motion has been adopted unanimously, effective immediately. Upon this adjournment, Brooke Prescott and Dylan Prescott are released from all executive duties and titles. The words lingered in the atmosphere. Dense and irrevocable. Brooke propelled herself from the brink of the stage. The sound of her heels grazing the gleaming wood resonating in the air. This isn't something you can accomplish. Welcome to my company. The legacy of our family. I maintained my composure. I pivoted the laptop screen to align with the projector feed, advancing to the next slide with a purposeful gesture. The expansive screen behind us transformed, casting a chilling blue glow that enveloped the entire ballroom. I have just completed that task. To guarantee a seamless transition, we have implemented further measures. The slide brimming with the pre-signed addendum I meticulously crafted at dawn. Each line scrutinized by external counsel. The immediate activation of the 10-year non-compete clause has been established, preventing both parties from engaging in any capacity within the food supply chain software sector or related industries across the nation. There are no consulting opportunities available. There are no board seats available at competing firms. There are no guiding whispers to the clients we crafted together. Underneath, in bold bullet points, we have the immediate forfeiture of all golden shares previously granted, accompanied by the permanent revocation of future dividend rights associated with their executive packages. Those shares represented more than mere paper. They were the safety net that Brooke had exchanged for her weekends in the Hamptons, the cushion Dylan relied on to finance his vintage car collection. All vanished with a single click. Brooke's eyes moved over the text with intent, her lips parting as the weight of the implications settled in. The color faded from her face, leaving her resembling a ghost illuminated by the harsh spotlights. Dylan, positioned just behind her, gripped the edge of the podium, his complexion shifting to a pallid gray. He appeared as though he were on the brink of illness, poised precariously on the Persian rug. Security, I murmured into the lapel mic, my voice laced with a hint of disinterest. 4 guards emerged from the shadows, gliding into view with the precise choreography of seasoned performers who had rehearsed for this very moment in the grand spectacle of corporate drama. 2 took their places beside Brooke, grasping her elbows with a gentle yet firm grip, reminiscent of escorts navigating a black tie affair that had veered off course. The other 2 mirrored their actions with Dylan, one hand gently resting on his shoulder, the other poised at his back, ready for whatever came next. My sister struggled against their grip, her blazer hiking up as her voice escalated in pitch. Mom, Dad, we need action here. Please, intervene and make them stop. Dad remained firmly planted next to Mom in the front row, his hands gripping together so tightly that the knuckles turned white against the gleam of his silver wedding band. His gaze remained anchored to the floor, following the elaborate design of the carpet as though it concealed a truth he had overlooked all this time. Mom's face was a canvas of streaked mascara and quivering lips. Yet she remained utterly still, silent, and unyielding, not even reaching for her phone. Their once comfortable 8% stake, a cushion for leisurely retirement golf trips, now held no significance in this room. There's no ballot to submit, no voice to elevate, no strength remaining to stand against the current I meticulously constructed. Layer by documented layer, Brooke's cries grew increasingly frantic as the guards ushered her toward the dimly lit service corridor off stage, a space adorned with flickering emergency lights and neglected coat racks. Kinley, I implore you. We share the same blood. We are sisters. This isn't something you can simply wipe away. For the first time all night, I locked eyes with her, holding the gaze, unblinking. Blood cannot supersede agreements. And this evening, you have inked the one that concludes this act. Dylan descended the steps, his shoulders tense and trembling beneath the unwavering force of the guards. He didn't engage with the same fervor as Brooke. Instead, he trudged forward, head bowed, the will to fight seeping away with each weary step. The doors to the corridor shut behind them, resonating with the same gentle, echoing thud that marked my exit 3 hours prior. Yet, this time, there was no turning back. The room lingered in a tense stillness for what felt like an eternity, where the only sound was the rhythmic thump of your heartbeat. Cutting through the soft drone of the air conditioning, a solitary cough from the back row shattered the enchantment, followed by Harold's deliberate clearing of his throat into the microphone. His baritone unwavering as always. The emergency meeting is hereby adjourned. I appreciate everyone's attention and collaboration this evening. Thank you all. The dessert service will be back in action shortly. With a deliberate motion, I shut the laptop, the screen fading into darkness. The projector fell silent. I collected my belongings and exited the stage. Moving past the velvet ropes and the scrutinizing gazes of associates who had once clasped Brooke's hand as if she held the promise of tomorrow. They nodded at me, their allegiance shifting subtly, conveyed through averted eyes, and whispered, "Congratulations." Mom finally made her move, taking a single step toward the corridor. But Dad's hand on her arm halted her in her tracks. They lingered, witnesses to the conclusion of a chapter they had initiated yet never entirely commanded. The cool Kansas City night air brushed against my skin as I gracefully entered the waiting car. The driver remained silent, offering no inquiries. He just pulled away from the Weston's curb, headlights slicing through the drizzle that had begun to fall sometime during the vote. 4 months later, the scene had transformed completely. The office door now boasts a sleek, brushed steel nameplate, proudly displaying Rowan Prescott, Chairwoman and Chief Executive Officer. Silence speaks volumes. There will be no email sent to the entire company. The following morning, the building came to life as it always did. Yet every choice now flowed through my hands. The first quarter numbers have exceeded expectations, coming in at an impressive 28% above the forecast. The long-awaited restructuring unfolded seamlessly, with no pushback whatsoever. In a remarkable turn of events, the warehouse automation contracts that had been stalled for 18 months were signed in just 9 days. Clients who were previously hesitant reached out on their own. Consistency captivates. 3 weeks following the gala, Brooke made the decision to list the Lake Lotawana house, the stunning 6-bedroom lakefront property, complete with an infinity pool and private dock. Captivated attention for 47 days before a savvy cash buyer from Dallas seized the opportunity. She required every cent to manage the sudden inheritance tax bill that emerged when her prized shares were reclaimed. The IRS remains unfazed by family turmoil. Dylan dispatched 211 resumes over the course of 11 months. Each interview concluded with the same ritual, courteous smiles exchanged, followed by an enveloping silence. The non-compete was meticulously crafted and is a matter of public record. No one in the realm of food supply software would dare to engage with him. He stepped into a part-time sales role at a car dealership in Blue Springs Commission, donning the same weary blazer that had witnessed the moment he lost it all. In October, Dad made the decision to put the Leawood house on the market. Mom decided against remaining in Kansas City once the gala photos made their way into the local society pages. they secured a stunning two-bedroom condo in Naples, Florida, with breathtaking views of the Gulf. On a Tuesday, the moving trucks arrived. I discovered the news, just like everyone else, the real estate listing went live. No farewell dinner. There will be no phone call. This is merely a forwarded change of address form from the post office. Brooke's initial message arrived 2 weeks post-vote. A solitary line. I regret to inform you that I have deleted it. The second arrived a month later, extending the narrative with a deeper sense of urgency and appeal. Removed. Dylan delivered a heartfelt, albeit shaky, 3-minute voicemail pleading for a reference, directly into the refuse. In November, a birthday card arrived from Mom, elegantly handwritten. Inquiring if we could have a conversation, it was cast aside, untouched, and lost to the shredder's embrace. I chose not to respond. Not a single time. Power is not something that is simply passed down. It doesn't unfold amidst the glamour of a gala, with champagne flowing and speeches echoing. It has been constructed piece by piece, agreement by agreement. Over 16 years of prioritizing ownership over accolades. The stage was never my desire. I envisioned the foundation. Foundations remain silent when the house ultimately crumbles. Some families unravel in silence. Our moment shattered before 250 captivated witnesses, illuminated by crystal chandeliers, while security stood guard at the doors. That night revealed the singular truth that matters, while blood may carry a surname. It does not cast a vote. Votes are the sole measure of significance.